The challenge. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday, not through diplomatic channels or official transmissions, but in the form of a small crystalline cube that materialized in the center of the United Nations Security Council chamber, interrupting a heated debate about water rights in the newly established Mars colonies. The cube hovered silently for exactly 3 seconds before unfurling like a flower, projecting a message in 27 languages simultaneously across the chamber walls. The translation was flawless, the intent unmistakable. Earth had been selected to participate in the Galactic Conclave's Centennial Challenge. This is either an elaborate hoax or first contact, Secretary General Amara Okafor said, staring at the slowly rotating geometric patterns that accompanied the message. And I'm not sure which would be more troubling. It wasn't a hoax. 3 days later, a vessel unlike anything human engineers had conceived appeared in lunar orbit. It didn't so much arrive as simply exist where nothing had been a moment before, as if space itself had decided to rearrange its priorities. Dr. Maya Chen wasn't supposed to be humanity's representative. She was a mathematician specializing in applied topological quantum field theory at MIT, brilliant but hardly diplomatic material. Yet when the selection algorithm embedded in the crystalline message analyzed all 7 billion humans on the planet, it somehow determined she was the optimal choice. "I'm not qualified for this," Maya protested as government officials hastily briefed her aboard the emergency shuttle to lunar orbit. "I've never even been off-planet before." "None of us are qualified for first contact," replied Ambassador Tanaka with a wry smile. "But that cube analyzed our entire species and chose you. There must be a reason." The alien vessel, the Conclave had named it the axiom of choice in their message, was simultaneously massive and ephemeral, like a cathedral built from solidified light. Maya felt her heart racing as the airlock cycled, and she stepped aboard. Her only companions a small tablet loaded with humanity's collective mathematical knowledge and a hastily assembled universal translator device that Earth's best linguists hoped would supplement the aliens' own communication systems. The being that greeted her was tall and segmented, with limbs that seemed to fold in impossible directions. Its surface shimmered with colors that seemed to exist just outside Maya's perception. "I am orbital designate Thelkson," it communicated, though Maya couldn't determine if it was speaking aloud or directly into her mind. "You are the human solver." "Dr. Maya Chen," she introduced herself, fighting to keep her voice steady. Yes, I suppose I am Earth's solver." "Interesting." Thelkson's segments shifted slightly. "We did not expect your world to send its primary solver. Most civilizations send diplomatic envoys who cannot solve." Maya almost laughed. "I'm not Earth's primary anything. Your message selected me." That caused a ripple of movement through Thelkson's body that Maya couldn't interpret. The selection principle is never wrong. Come, the conclave awaits. The journey deeper into the axiom of choice was disorienting. Corridors seemed to extend and contract according to some geometry that Maya's brain struggled to process. Finally, they emerged into a vast chamber where dozens of beings, all wildly different in form, were arranged in a spiral pattern around a central platform. "The human solver arrives," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. All attention turned to Maya, and she felt the weight of countless alien gazes. Some were clearly biological entities like Thelkson, while others were constructs of energy or complex mechanisms that whirred and clicked. One appeared to be nothing more than a perfect sphere of absolute darkness. "Welcome to the Centennial Challenge," continued the voice. "I am High Facilitator Nix, speaking for the Conclave of Rational Minds." A figure floated forward, vaguely humanoid but composed of what looked like liquid mercury constantly flowing and reshaping itself while maintaining a general form. "For 10,000 years, the most advanced civilizations of this galaxy have gathered to address unsolved problems," Nix explained. "Each century, we present a challenge, a problem that has resisted solution. Those who contribute meaningfully are welcomed into the conclave and granted access to its knowledge." Maya swallowed hard. And what is this century's challenge? The Kalman-Voss boundary equation, Nix replied, as if the name alone should inspire awe. It has remained unsolved for 7 centuries. 23 civilizations have attempted solutions during that time. None have succeeded. With a graceful gesture, Nix caused the central platform to illuminate with symbols that, to Maya's surprise, resembled mathematical notation, not identical to human mathematics, but similar enough that she could begin to grasp its meaning. "You recognize this form?" asked a new voice, this one belonging to a crystalline entity that fractured light into impossible spectra. Yes," Maya replied, surprising herself. "It's not exactly like our notation, but I can see the fundamentals. This is multidimensional calculus with some kind of topological constraints." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. The human recognizes the basic form, observed a being composed of what appeared to be intricate clockwork. Unexpected. Their civilization has barely mastered basic space-time manipulation. "We haven't mastered space-time manipulation at all," Maya corrected absently, her mind already racing through the equation's implications. "We're still arguing about whether it's even theoretically possible." The clockwork being made a sound like tiny bells. "Then how does your species travel between stars?" "We don't," Maya replied, finally tearing her eyes away from the equation. "We've barely reached our own moon. The farthest any human-made object has traveled is just beyond our solar system." This caused a commotion among the assembled aliens. Maya caught fragments of communication, some verbal, some seemingly transmitted directly to her translator device, some completely incomprehensible. Impossible. A pre-stellar civilization. The selection principle has failed. This is unprecedented. High Facilitator Nix raised an appendage, and silence fell immediately. "Dr. Chen," Nix addressed her formally for the first time, "there appears to be a misunderstanding. The conclave challenge is extended only to civilizations with interstellar capabilities. Your presence here suggests your species has achieved this threshold." Maya shook her head. "We haven't. Not even close. We're still burning fossil fuels on Earth, for heaven's sake." The liquid mercury of Nix's form rippled with what might have been shock. "Yet the selection principle chose you specifically. This has never occurred in the history of the conclave." "Perhaps," suggested a wispy, cloud-like entity, "the selection principle detected potential rather than achievement. Or perhaps contributed a being so small Maya could barely perceive it. The equation itself has influenced the selection." Nix seemed to consider this. "Regardless of the reason, Dr. Chen is here, and the challenge has begun. She will be afforded the same opportunity as any solver. 7 rotations to propose a solution." "7 what?" Maya asked. "The equivalent of approximately 14 of your Earth days," her translator supplied. 2 weeks to solve an equation that advanced alien civilizations haven't solved in 7 centuries. Maya laughed nervously. "That seems optimistic." "The time frame is standardized," Nix stated simply. "Solver Chen will be provided with accommodations and access to reference materials. The challenge commences now." With that, most of the aliens departed, leaving Maya standing bewildered on the platform, with Thelxin beside her. "Come," Thelxin gestured. "I will show you to your working space." The working space turned out to be a spherical chamber that somehow maintained its own gravity orientation, no matter where Maya moved within it. One wall displayed the Kalman-Voss equation in its entirety, a sprawling construct of mathematical symbols that Maya estimated would take up an entire blackboard wall if written in standard Earth notation. "This is insane," she muttered to herself after Thelxin departed. "I don't even know where to begin." But she did know where to begin, she realized, just as she always did with difficult problems, by breaking them down into manageable pieces and identifying patterns. For 3 days, Maya barely slept. She filled her tablet with notes, then requested physical writing materials when she ran out of digital space. The aliens supplied her with something like paper that responded to her touch, allowing her to manipulate equations with gestures as well as writing. On the fourth day, Maya experienced her first breakthrough when she recognized that part of the equation resembled work by the 20th century mathematician Grothendieck, specifically his approach to arithmetic geometry. It was as if some universal mathematical truth had been discovered independently by humans and whoever first formulated the Kalman-Voss equation. By the sixth day, Maya had covered her entire chamber with notes and calculations. Felkson visited periodically, silently observing her work without comment. "Is anyone else close to solving this?" Maya asked during one such visit. "3 other civilizations are currently attempting solutions," Felkson answered. "The Vox Collective has been working for 16 years. The meritocracy of Tal has dedicated their foremost mathematical consortium for 2 centuries. The distributed intelligence of Helix Prime has been computing possibilities for over 400 years. Maya felt a hysterical laugh bubble up. "And they think I can do it in 2 weeks. The selection principle is never wrong," Felkson repeated enigmatically. On the morning of the 7th day, exhausted and frustrated, Maya took a different approach. She sat cross-legged in the center of her chamber, closed her eyes, and tried to visualize the problem not as a series of symbols but as shapes and patterns. And suddenly, she saw it. The solution wasn't in the equation at all. It was in the boundaries, the constraints that limited possible solutions. The Kalman-Voss equation wasn't asking for a specific answer. It was asking for proof that no solution could exist within the defined parameters. But what if the parameters themselves were variable? Maya's eyes snapped open. "That's it," she whispered. They'd been trying to solve the wrong problem. For the next 20 hours, she worked feverishly, occasionally calling Felkson to request clarification on certain conceptual translations. When the final rotation ended and she was summoned back to the central chamber, Maya was simultaneously exhausted and exhilarated. The same assembly of aliens awaited her, but now there was a palpable tension in the atmosphere. 3 other beings stood on separate platforms, presumably the other solvers Felkson had mentioned. "The challenge concludes," announced High Facilitator Nix. "Solutions will be presented and evaluated. The first solver, a collective of small insect-like beings that moved as one, presented a dense computational approach that Maya could follow only in its broadest outlines. The conclave's response was respectful, but clearly indicated the solution was incomplete. The second solver, a being that seemed to exist partially in another dimension, presented what Maya recognized as a topological approach similar to one path she had abandoned early in her work. Again, the conclave acknowledged the work but found it lacking. The third solver declined to present, stating that additional time was required for computation. Then it was Maya's turn. "Solver Chen of Earth," Nix intoned. "Present your approach." Maya took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I believe the Kalman-Voss boundary equation has remained unsolved because everyone has been trying to solve the wrong problem," she began, and watched as the equivalent of surprise rippled through the alien gathering. "Please elaborate," prompted Nix, mercury form shimmering with what might have been interest. "The equation as presented is actually a proof of impossibility," Maya explained. "It's not asking for a solution within the given parameters. It's demonstrating that no solution can exist within those parameters." She gestured, and her notes appeared in holographic form above the platform. "But," she continued, "if we consider the constraint boundaries as variables rather than constants, everything changes." As Maya outlined her approach, she felt the quality of attention in the room shift. When she finally presented her conclusion, not a solution in the traditional sense, but a proof that reconfigured the entire problem, the chamber fell completely silent. For several long moments, no one spoke. Then the clockwork being emitted a series of rapid clicks. This is not a solution," it objected. "This redefines the problem itself." "Exactly," Maya said, confidence growing. "Because the original problem was a paradox by design. The only way to solve it is to recognize that the constraints themselves must be part of the solution space. High Facilitator Nix floated closer to Maya's platform, mercury form rippling faster now. In 7 centuries, Nix said slowly, no one has approached the equation from this perspective. Perhaps, Maya suggested, that's because your civilizations are too advanced. That caused another ripple of reaction through the assembly. Explain, demanded the crystalline entity. Advanced mathematical thinking tends to operate within established paradigms, Maya explained. On Earth, we're still developing our fundamental understanding of the universe. We're used to questioning basic assumptions because we haven't settled on which assumptions are correct. A perspective advantage derived from primitivism, mused the wispy cloud entity. Fascinating. Not primitivism, Maya corrected firmly. Just different experience. Sometimes fresh eyes see what experienced ones overlook. High Facilitator Nexus form coalesced into a more defined shape. The conclave will deliberate on Solver Chen's approach. With that, the aliens withdrew to confer, leaving Maya alone on the platform with the other solvers, who regarded her with what she assumed was the alien equivalent of scientific curiosity. 30 minutes later, the conclave reassembled. Nix floated to the center of the chamber. After thorough evaluation, Nix announced, the conclave has determined that Solver Chen's approach constitutes a valid and novel solution to the Kalman-Voss boundary equation. Maya felt a surge of relief and pride. Moreover, Nix continued, this solution reveals aspects of the problem previously unconsidered by the conclave. It represents not merely an answer but a methodology that may have applications beyond this specific challenge. Nix turned toward Maya, mercury form shimmering brightly. Dr. Maya Chen of Earth, you have earned your civilization's place in the conclave of rational minds. As is our tradition, you may now claim the knowledge boon. Access to any one category of conclave knowledge to bring back to your civilization. Maya blinked in surprise. Any category. Physics, medicine, energy production. Any field for which your civilization has the foundational understanding to utilize, Nix confirmed. Choose wisely, for this opportunity comes but once. Maya thought carefully. Energy technology might solve Earth's climate crisis. Medical knowledge could eradicate disease. Propulsion systems could jumpstart humanity's journey to the stars. But something told her there was a more fundamental choice to make. Before I choose, Maya said, I have a question. Why was I selected? Earth isn't an interstellar civilization. We shouldn't have been eligible for this challenge at all. Nix's form seemed to hesitate. The selection principle operates according to its own parameters. But now that you have solved the challenge, a truth can be revealed. The mercury form shifted, expanding to create a visual representation that Maya recognized as a map of the galaxy. Within it, thousands of points of light pulsed in different colors. The conclave has existed for 10,000 years, Nix explained. In that time, we have cataloged over 8,000 civilizations that achieved interstellar capability. Of those, 79% destroyed themselves within 3 centuries of this achievement. Maya felt a chill. Destroyed themselves. How? Various means. Resource depletion. Weaponized technology. Artificial intelligence rebellion. Genetic manipulation gone awry. The specifics differ, but the pattern remains consistent across species and millennia. That's disturbing, Maya said quietly. Indeed, which is why the conclave established the selection principle, to identify civilizations with potential before they reach the self-destruction threshold, to guide them past it. The realization hit Maya like a thunderbolt. The challenge isn't just a test. It's an intervention. Precisely, confirmed Nix. The Kalman-Voss equation was specifically designed to identify whether a civilization can transcend its established paradigms. A key predictor of survival past the threshold. Your solution not only met this criterion but exceeded our expectations. Maya suddenly understood the magnitude of what was happening. So my choice of knowledge may determine whether humanity joins the 21% that survive their technological adolescence. Nix finished for her. Maya closed her eyes, considering the responsibility before her. When she opened them again, her decision was made. "I choose communication technology," she said firmly. "An unexpected choice," Nix observed. "Many select energy or propulsion. Those would advance our technology," Maya explained. "But communication will advance our understanding. If humanity is going to survive long enough to join the conclave properly, we need to learn how to communicate better. With each other first, then with the rest of the galaxy." For the first time, Nex's Mercury form shaped itself into what was unmistakably a smile. "The selection principle," Nix said softly, "is never wrong." The revolution. The small crystalline cube felt impossibly heavy in Maya's hand as her shuttle descended toward Earth. Inside it lay communication technology centuries beyond humanity's current capabilities, a gift from the conclave that came with unspoken expectations. Her homecoming wasn't the scientific celebration she'd expected, but a military reception. In a secure facility at Andrews Air Force Base, she faced a room of anxious officials from various intelligence agencies and military branches. "The technology in this cube must be studied for national security implications," Admiral Reeves stated firmly, extending her hand. Maya kept the cube close. This knowledge wasn't given to any single nation. It was entrusted to humanity. "Dr. Chen," the Admiral's voice hardened, "you've been given access to world-changing technology by an alien civilization. Compliance isn't optional." "The cube is keyed to my neurological pattern," Maya replied calmly. "No one can access it without my cooperation, and I won't cooperate until we establish a truly international framework to manage this knowledge." She met the Admiral's gaze steadily. "The Conclave has watched thousands of civilizations destroy themselves after achieving advanced technology. I won't let us become another statistic." For 3 weeks, Maya withstood intense pressure, speaking directly with the president, testifying before the UN Security Council, and rejecting numerous attempts to gain control of the cube. Her persistence ultimately led to the creation of the Global Communication Innovation Institute, with governance shared among all UN member nations and headquarters rotating between continents. 6 months after her return, Maya activated the cube for a team of 200 scientists from 57 countries. The crystalline structure unfurled into a complex, multidimensional schematic that filled the Geneva laboratory with pulsing light. "This isn't just about transmitting information faster," she explained. "It's about transmitting meaning." The first prototypes, crude by conclave standards but revolutionary by Earth's, were called resonance technology, devices that transmitted not just words or images, but the contextual and emotional framework surrounding them. Early applications were simple: musicians sharing the emotional experience of playing, doctors feeling patients' symptoms, teachers conveying complex concepts through direct experiential transfer. The first major breakthrough came 18 months later when Dr. Yasmin Kapoor developed a contextual bridge that allowed the technology to adapt across cultural and linguistic barriers automatically. International diplomacy was transformed overnight as the UN established resonance chambers where representatives could communicate with truly shared understanding. "It's like removing a veil I never knew was there," one diplomat described. "I've worked with my counterpart from Russia for 15 years, thinking we understood each other. Now I realize how much was lost in translation, not just words, but entire frames of reference." Not everyone embraced the new technology. Religious conservatives worried about the theological implications. Privacy advocates raised concerns about boundaries. Military establishments scrambled to understand the strategic implications of truly shared understanding. There were setbacks. Early versions occasionally created psychological feedback loops. Corporate attempts to monetize the technology led to addiction-like symptoms. Some users experienced identity dysphoria, losing their sense of self after profound connections. But the benefits were undeniable. Medical diagnosis became revolutionarily accurate when doctors could literally feel symptoms. Students experienced historical events from multiple perspectives simultaneously. Environmental advocates shared the direct experience of climate impacts, making statistics viscerally real. 5 years after Maya's journey to the axiom of choice, the world was unquestionably different. International conflicts hadn't disappeared, but their nature had transformed. It's harder to demonize those whose experiences you shared. Climate action accelerated when policymakers directly experienced the suffering of those most affected. On the 5th anniversary of the cube's activation, Maya received a direct mental communication from Thelksen. 3 days later, she stood in a field outside Geneva as reality shifted to reveal her alien mentor. Dr. Chen. Thelksen greeted her, segments shifting in approval. Your species has surprised the conclave. In good ways, I hope. In unexpected ways, Thelksen clarified. Most civilizations use the knowledge boon to accelerate their technological development. You have used it to transform your social structures. For the next month, Thelksen observed humanity's implementation firsthand. Visiting hospitals where doctors used empathic diagnostics, schools teaching through multiple perspectives, and peace negotiations enhanced by shared experiential understanding. Thelksen also witnessed the divisions that remained, regions where the technology was banned, corporations attempting to control it, military applications being developed despite restrictions. Your species remains fractious, Thelksen noted on their final day together. We remain human, Maya corrected. Unity doesn't mean uniformity. The conclave has reached a decision, Thelksen announced as they watched the sunset paint the Alps. Humanity will be granted provisional observer status, effective immediately. Maya turned in surprise. But you said that wouldn't happen until we achieved interstellar capability. Exceptions are made when circumstances warrant. Your implementation of the knowledge boon has demonstrated a perspective valuable to the conclave itself. What perspective? That communication precedes comprehension, and comprehension precedes cooperation. Thelksen's segments shifted in emphasis. Many advanced civilizations possess technology far beyond yours, yet struggle with concepts your species has prioritized. Genuine understanding across difference, empathy as a foundation for policy, diversity as a strength. So what happens now? I will remain as liaison. A delegation of humans will be permitted to visit the conclave's station. Additional knowledge transfers will be authorized. Not technological specifications, but conceptual frameworks to assist your development. And are part of the bargain? Maya asked. Continue, Thelksen said simply. Continue building bridges of understanding. Continue demonstrating that technological advancement and conscious evolution can proceed in tandem. As darkness fell over the mountains, Maya reflected on how far humanity had come, and how far they still had to go. The path to the stars wasn't just about better engines or energy sources. It was about becoming the kind of species that deserved to carry its consciousness into the cosmos. The selection principle hadn't just chosen her because she could solve a mathematical puzzle. It had selected humanity because, for all our flaws, we possessed something rare in the galaxy, the capacity to transform ourselves through understanding. The stars would wait. First, they needed to truly understand each other. And in doing so, perhaps they would offer something valuable even to civilizations millions of years their senior, the perspective of a species still young enough to change.